Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And today we're going over the Space Marines. And I'm not going to be going over every chapter and the Horse Heresy. Those will be in future videos. But anyways, let's get this started. The Space Marines, or Adeptus Astartes, are foremost amongst the defenders of humanity, the greatest of the Emperor Mankind's warriors. They are barely human at all, but superhuman, having been made superior in all respects to a normal man by a harsh regime of genetic modification, psycho-conditioning, and rigorous training. Space Marines are untouched by plague or natural disease and can suffer wounds that will kill a lesser being several times over and live to fight again. Clad in ancient power armor and wielding the most potent weapons known to man, the Space Marines are terrifying foes, and their devotion to the Emperor and the Imperium of man is unyielding. They are the God Emperor's angels of death, and they know no fear. The Astartes are physically stronger, far more resilient, and often mentally far removed from the lot of most normal, augmented or unaugmented human beings. In the presence of the Astartes, most imperial citizens feel a combination of awe and fear. Many cultures on the more primitive worlds of the galaxy simply worship them outright as demigods or angels of the God Emperor made flesh. They should feel so, for many Space Marines feel little compassion for those they have sometimes termed mortals, in comparison to themselves, seeing the very people they were created to protect as little more than obstacles to a more efficient eradication of the Imperium's enemies. This is an attitude sometimes taken by whole chapters. They see normal humans as frail, weak creatures given to the follies of temptation, avarice, greed, lust, and cowardice. All emotions they rarely feel, if ever. Yet there are some Astartes who remember why they were created by the Emperor, who avoid the trap of hubris, which the Space Marines are so prone to, and which has seduced so many of their numbers to serve the ruinous powers of chaos. They are the final guardians of mankind, the saviors of last resort. Okay. They were intended not to lead humanity, but defend it. Sometimes even from itself. At the heart of that mission lies the limitless compassion the Emperor extended to every man and woman in the galaxy when he willingly chose to condemn himself to more than 10,000 standard years of imprisonment within a dying prison of flesh for their sake. Some Astartes sneer at compassion, seeing it as one more human weakness that has been purged from their superior transhuman bodies and minds. But the wisest of the Space Marines know that in the end, compassion is their only salvation. Potential Space Marines are usually, but not always, recruited from the worlds where a chapter has established its fortress monastery. Although some chapters are known to recruit from a collection of different worlds in an area of space that they protect or frequent, recruiting methods vary from chapter to chapter. Some select their neophytes from feral tribes roaming the surface of an inhospitable worlds, while others draw upon eager volunteers who have been groomed from birth to become an Astartes. Still, others watch and kidnap potential warriors, turning them into Astartes, whether they will it or not. Whatever the method, all Space Marine chapters will only accept those who successfully pass the grueling initiation trials, hypno-indoctrination rites, and prove themselves worthy of becoming a Space Marine. However, a man becomes a Space Marine does not matter. Once his body has been forged into that of a transhuman Astartes, he must forever stand apart from the people to whom he was once kin, and who he is now sworn to protect. Once a man becomes a Space Marine, he is no longer mortal. His genetic heritage is now that of the Emperor himself, and a spark of the same divine majesty flows in his veins. The Space Marine Legions, or the Legiones Astartes in High Gothic, were the original unit formations of the firstborn Space Marines created during the first founding by the Emperor on Terra in circa 700 or the 30th millennium. This initial founding happened before the start of the Great Crusade that reunited the scattered worlds of humanity beneath the banner of the Imperium of Man. While the unification wars were still raging on Terra, unlike the current Adeptus Astartes, who served the Imperium of the 41st millennium, primary as a planetary assault and rapid strike force, the Space Marine Legions were the primary frontline military force of the ancient Imperium of Man, responsible for frontline combat in most military engagements, with the Imperial Army serving as auxiliary support and garrison troops. This operational role changed after the second founding during the time of rebirth of the 31st millennium, and the Astra Militarum replaced the Legione Astartes as the Imperium's frontline armed forces, relegating the now much smaller Space Marine formations known as chapters to more elite role. Their primary tactical specialties at present include force multiplying, special operations deployments, ship-to-ship combat and boarding operations, command and control, decapitation strikes, and planetary assaults. There are approximately 1,000 Space Marine chapters active in the Imperium of Man at one time. Since the opening of the Great Rift in Era Indomitus, these chapters have been comprised of a mixture of traditional firstborn Space Marines and even more enhanced Primaris Space Marines, or may contain only Primaris Marines. A list of the most notable well-known chapters in the Imperium of Man are found here. This number has stayed relatively constant since the second founding in the 31st millennium, following the Horus Heresy, when the first founding Space Marine legions were broken up. All right. Now we're getting into the biblical side of things. So we're going to be talking about God's angels, who are mighty ones, and also the human mighty ones that God has. So this is very interesting. So we're going to start in Psalm 103, starting in verse 17. Verse 18, sorry. To such as keep his covenant, and to those that remember his commandments to do them. The Lord hath prepared his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom ruleth over all. Bless the Lord, ye his angels, that excel in strength, right? Like the Space Marines, kind of. That do his commandments, hearken unto the voice of his word. So, these angels got to keep the commandments of God and follow him, right? And do the same thing that we kind of got to do, right? Okay. Bless ye the Lord, all his hosts, ye ministers of his that do his pleasure. Bless the Lord, all his works, and all places of his dominion. Bless the Lord, O my soul. All right. So it's almost like, the Emperor of Mankind over, the universe, stuff like that. Same thing with God, right? Anyways, here we go. More of these angel mighty ones, right? Isaiah 13:3. I have commanded my sanctified ones. I also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as a great people. A tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. So this is the day of the Lord, right? The day of judgment, when all the world is gathered together to fight him. By the way, pay attention to Ronald Reagan's speech that he did, and ask yourself, who is he talking about? This person who's coming on to the earth, right? Very interesting. But anyways, kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. The day of the Lord is this day of judgment, by the way. Okay, guys? Some people call it the rapture. It's the day of judgment. It is one day. It's specifically in Zechariah, one of the two. It literally calls it a day. And it's a day of darkness, it says, right? Or you know what? Might as well bring it up. Unfortunately, this is taught wrong in modern day churches. Never was until about 200 years ago, but we won't get into that. Amos. Was it? No. Hold on. That is a good one, though, about the day of the Lord. There we go. Okay. Right. Verse 14. The great day of the Lord is near, and hastens greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, and they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Okay. So that's what this is talking about here. Okay. Now we're going to get into Revelation 12:7. We're going to see these angels, right, are pretty powerful, especially going up against their dragon, Satan, right, and Michael and all that. So, and there was war in heaven. And we'll get into this, of course, in the war of heaven, right? But anyways, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He is cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So they were powerful enough to cast out these other powerful beings, right? Okay. All right. Now we're going to get into these men, these mighty ones that are men, right? Zechariah 10:5. And they shall be as mighty men, which tread down their enemies in the mire of the streets, in the battle. And they shall fight, because the Lord is with them, and the riders on horses shall be confounded. And I will strengthen the house of Judah. So they're getting their strength from God, just like Samson did, right? But anyways. And I will save the house of Joseph, and I will bring them again to the place for them. For I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off. For I am the Lord their God, and I will hear them. And they of Ephraim shall be like a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as through wine. Yea, so Ephraim are kind of like the Gentiles here, basically. Ephraim went out to the Gentile nations and all that. But anyways, and their heart shall rejoice as through the wine. Yea, their children shall see it and be glad. Their heart shall rejoice in the Lord. So now he's saying the Gentiles will come to God, right? That's what happened. And I will hiss for them and gather them, for I have redeemed them, and they shall increase as they have increased. Very interesting. So there's these house of Judah that's being strengthened, right? And the house of Joseph. And then we got Ephraim shall be like a mighty man too, right? The Gentiles. Okay. Now we're getting into this Nephilim war. So if you don't know, Genesis 6 talks about the giants, angels came down, mated with women, created the giants. These are, and the word there is the word Nephilim, giants. It is a umbrella term for these hybrid beings. I've talked about it many times on my videos. If you want to check out my last videos and stuff like that, go ahead. They're there. But anyways, so let's go down here. So all these, I do got to bring this up. Okay, we'll start in verse 1. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Eleazar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and the title king of nations, that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, These are all Nephilim kings here, by the way, guys, okay? And with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Ammah, and Shemimber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these were joined together in the Vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. In 12 years they served Chedorlaomer. In the 13th year, and they rebelled. In the 14th year came Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims. Remember the Rephaim, right? Go check out my Cork one too as well. These Rephaims, you know what? I'll bring it up here. Okay. They're the undead, right? So right here, in the sense of invigorating a giant, let's go to the root word Rapha, which means to mend, to cure, repair, thoroughly, make whole. There you go. So it's these giants who were in the flood, before the flood, and God sent the flood, and now they're the, undead. Here, right here. For the new people. Right. So what's going on here? Abraham is about to team up with these four Nephilim kings because they came and they took Lot. So he's going to go fight these 5 kings, who took Lot and all that, and grab Lot. And he's teaming up with these 4 other Nephilim Rephaim kings, basically, to go get his brother Lot. But anyways, we're going to read this. Job 26:5. Dead things are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. Okay, so now that you know what Rephaim are and understand what's going on, these are Nephilim or Rephaim now. So basically, before the flood, they're Nephilim. After the flood, they're usually called the Rephaim. Okay, like Og of Bashan, he's a Rephaim. Anyways, where is it? Oh, right there. Okay. And the Horites, the Horites are the troglodytes. So we'll see that here. Inhabitants of Edom, also the name of the Edomite, also name of a Simeonite. Right here. Cave dweller, troglodyte, a Chorite or an Aboriginal Idumean, Horims or Horites. So troglodyte. And mythologies and stuff like that, they're like these weird cave-dwelling, sometimes like weird entities. Okay, definitely weird entities. Anyways, now they're not always. Some of them are called, some men who dwell in caves are called troglodytes. But in mythology, troglodytes are these weird creatures. And that's who I believe what's talking about here. Anyways. So you see, it's this Nephilim war going on here, okay? And they returned and came into En Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites. Let me go back here. Okay. The Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwell in Hazez Zon Tamar. This is going to be rough, guys, so I apologize. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Adbah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar. And they joined battle with them in the Vale of Siddim, with Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with the title king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Eleazar, 4 kings with 5. And the Vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there. And they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all the victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. So he's joining up with these kings, these Nephilim entities, right? And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. Dan is a tribe of the, anyways, sorry, I shouldn't say that. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the woman also, and the people. So Abraham went up with these, Confederate Nephilim kings, got his Lot back, brought back all the women and everything like that. Doesn't sound like some old fart now, does it? Some weak, I get tired of the way Christians depict Abraham, like this weak guy, right? He's going to war here, by the way, right? And going up against giants. So think about that one, right? And so was Samson. So now we're going to get into Samson, which is interesting. I have always believed that this angel of the Lord was pre-incarnate Jesus, in my opinion, right? Check this out. This even more proves it. Okay. For it came to pass when the flame went up toward heaven from the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar, and Manoah and his wife. So basically, the angel of the Lord came down and said, hey, you're going to have Samson, and he's going to be a Nazarite. They're here. Let me bring that up. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so verse 9, and God hearkened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field, and Manoah her husband was not with her. And the woman made haste and ran, and showed her husband, and said unto him, behold, the man hath appeared unto me, that came unto me the other day. Notice it says man, but anyways. And Manoah arose, and went after his wife, and came to the man, and said unto him, art thou the man that spakest unto the woman? And he said, I am. And Manoah said, now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child, and how we should do unto him? And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. You know what? Sorry, guys. Right. But thou shalt, this is verse 7, but he said unto them, behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now drink no wine, nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing. For the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb, to the day of his death. So just like God is strengthening these mighty men of Judah and stuff like that, God is strengthening this son of Samson, or Samson. He's strengthening Samson, this child, right? Okay. So let's go down here. So, verse 23, but his wife said unto him, if the Lord were pleased to kill us, he would not have received a burnt offering and a meat offering at our hands, neither would he have showed us all these things, nor would I'm sorry, right here. So, verse 21, my goodness. But the angel of the Lord did not appear, or did no more appear to Manoah and his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said to his wife, pay attention to this part. We shall surely die, because we have seen God. The same angel of the Lord appears to Moses, and then in Exodus 3, and then we see him in a few verses down. He says, I am God. So, very interesting. Okay. So here we go. 2 Samuel 23:16. And the three, this is David's mighty men here. So, and David was then in a hold, and the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. And David longed and said, oh, that one would give me drink of the water of the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. And the three mighty men break through the host of the Philistines. Remember, who was a Philistine? Goliath, right? Goliath was a Philistine. And we see he had 5 brothers who were giants, right? There's a show called The House of David. Even though it takes liberties and it gets a lot of things wrong, but it does explain the Nephilim and these giants pretty darn well. I'll give him that. And it's called The House of David on Amazon Prime, I do believe. So if you want to check it out, that's what it's called. But it does take liberties, and it's not the 100% truth. So just know that. Okay, and 3 mighty men break through the host of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem. That was by the gate, took it, and brought it to David. Nevertheless, he would not drink thereof, but poured it unto the Lord. And he said, be it for me, O Lord, that I should do this. Is not this the blood of the men that went in jeopardy in their lives? Therefore he would not drink it. These things did these three mighty men. And Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among 3, and he lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them. And he had the name among 3. Was he not most honorable of 3? Therefore he was their captain. Howbeit he attained not unto the first 3. So, very interesting. So now we're getting into Warhammer 40k again. We're getting into this Codex Astartes. In the wake of the calamity that was the Horus heresy, the foundations of the present-day Imperium were laid down during a period remembered as the Reformation. The first High Lords of Terra established, under the direction of Guilliman, the structure by which the Adeptus Terra operated, and described the feudal responsibilities and duties of the planetary governors. One of the most important accomplishments was the reorganization of the Imperium's military forces. Okay, this was undertaken almost single-handedly by Rubu Guilliman, who, in his role as the post-heresy Lord Commander of the Imperium, moved with his characteristic speed and efficiency to codify the structure of the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Navy, and the Space Marines. With the threat of the traitor legions held at bay in the wake of the Horus heresy and the Great Scoring, Rubu Guilliman turned into ensuring that such a catastrophe could never happen again. He distilled his formidable wisdom into a mighty tome known as the Codex Astartes. This text became a major part of his legacy and the cornerstone upon which the future of the Imperium would be based. Of all Guilliman's works, the most influential would prove to be the Codex Astartes, the great prescriptive tome that lays down the basic organizational and tactical rules for a Space Marine chapter. The Codex Astartes decreed that Space Marines would be created and trained over a controlled period of time. Of a special interest is the volume of the Codex that described, in detail, the tactical rules, equipment specifications, uniform markings, command protocols, and countless other aspects of Space Marine doctrine. Though for all its multitudinous topics, the most lasting and contentious decree of the Codex Astartes was the existing Space Marine legions be broken up and reorganized into smaller organizations known as chapters. Though many of his brother Primarchs initially railed against Guilliman's decree, almost all eventually accepted the necessity of reorganization for the security of the Imperium. Thus were the chapters of the Adeptus Astartes born. Upon the Codex Astartes implementation, in an event that would become known as the Second Founding, each of the old legions became a single chapter of 1000 Astartes, named for its forebear, plus a number of other new chapters. In addition to a name heraldry of their own, each of these new chapters would take for itself a homeworld or a fortress monastery and use it as a bastion from which to defend the Imperium from all threats. The Codex Astartes stated that each chapter would be 1,000 battle brothers strong and look to own its own recruitment, training, and equipment. Never again would one man be able to command the awesome, terrifying power of the Space Marine Legion. Alright guys, we're going to wind this down here. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I just want you guys to understand the Bible a little bit more too, and of course, the Warhammer 40k lore. I use Warhammer 40k to kind of get the picture, okay? And it's not a one-on-one exact replica of what I'm saying. I'm just trying to get you guys the picture of what's going on, at least in the Bible sense of things, right? But anyways, guys, if you liked the video, thank you. If you didn't like the video, thank you for at least giving me a chance. And also, check out W Energy Drinks. It is jitterless. And there it is. Check out the link in the description. You'll get 10% off and you'll be helping out the channel. Alright guys, you guys have a wonderful day.